when I was pregnant with Lorraine, they didn't give sonograms all the time like they do now. So when I was pregnant with her, finally at the end of the pregnancy, I was 2 weeks late, and they wanted to do a sonogram to make sure everything was okay. So they did it, and they said, "Do you want to know what it is?" And it was like a Monday morning or whatever, and I said, "Sure, go ahead, tell me what it is." And said, "It's a girl." And the look on your dad's face was a little bit of disappointment. And so it was like, I thought to myself, gee, I'm glad that he knows now, instead of whenever they're pulling the baby out and then there's a look of disappointment at that point. It was better to get that out of the way. And then, but then whenever he loved you and everything was great and he was like the best dad ever. But then whenever I got pregnant with Pete, I got so big so fast, and then the doctor was doing the little thing and they heard 2 heartbeats, so I had to go get a sonogram for that. And they were doing the 2 heartbeats, and then they said, oh good, well, they knew I only wanted 1, so they said, it's just 1, and you want to know the sex. And you and Daddy were both in the room with me, and I have jelly all over my belly, and I'm like relieved that it's only 1, and I was happy that it was a boy, and everything was good. And so I go into the dressing room, and you're like right down here on my leg, and all of a sudden tears started pouring out of your eyes. And I thought to myself, why did you take her in there? That was probably so traumatic to a child to see that sonogram being done and all that jelly on my belly and all this discussion about whatever. It was probably traumatizing. And I'm like, Lorraine, honey, are you okay? It's just, I wanted a sister. So I thought both times. First I disappointed your dad, then I disappointed you. I couldn't make anybody happy. But yeah, then it worked out. It worked out well. And then, Lorraine went on to try to kill her brother one time, but that could be another story, I guess.
You can say it now.
Oh, you want me to tell that story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, when Lorraine, whenever I had Lorraine, I was really worried about our dogs trying to hurt her in some way because we were so close to our dogs. So we ended up getting a second dog so that they would be able to play together so they wouldn't try to hurt Lorraine. So then whenever I had Lorraine, and then I had Pete, and then Pete was maybe a few months old.
Dogs probably are fine though, because they can sense that they're part of the people they like, or no?
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily trust the kind of dogs we end up training with small children by themselves.
But they were fine.
It worked out fine. They never hurt you or anything. It was just fine. But then when I had you, and then I'm like in your bedroom, and you had this pretty little double bed in your bedroom, and Pete was really young, like just like not moving around that much yet, maybe 3 months old or something. I had him on the center of the bed. I had to go do something. You were there. You were at that point probably 3.5 years old or so, and you were pretty mature, and so I just had to run and do something for like a minute or 2. So I did that, and I came back in the room, and Pete was gone. And I'm like, Lorraine, where's Pete? And then I hear this muffled sound under the covers, and people are gonna really hate you. I hear this muffled sound under the covers, and I started to rip the covers off of him, and he was all sweaty and everything. And so I was like, geez, oh man, how did that happen? And it's going through my mind, Lorraine wouldn't do that. That doesn't seem like right. And so, so then, I just calmed him down, and then I thought, like, I really have to discuss this with Lorraine. This is, could be a problem. And so I just said, Lorraine, you weren't trying to kill him, were you? And Lorraine said, I don't want to answer that question. So then I went and had a discussion with my husband that we couldn't leave the 2 kids alone together because we would always be worried about the dogs, but we didn't know we had to actually be worried about the other child.
I wanted a sister.
Right. You were going to make me have another child, right? No. That was scary. It was a scary experience. But then she ended up being a relatively good sister. Right?
One time I bit myself at the babysitter, and I told them that Pete did it, and he got in trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
And what babysitter was that?
I think on Anna Maria. Holly?
Holly? You're kidding.
Yeah, I bit my hand. Like, I didn't even bite it in a spot that was, like, possible. I bit my hand, like, right there. Like, really hard. And I told her that he did it.
And so what did she do?
I think she put him in timeout or something.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I had to hire the nurse as the babysitter? There was no, one school was closing, and I couldn't get the kids into the new daycare school kind of facility. So, and it was at holiday time, so for 2 weeks of holiday, I had to just do whatever I could, so I had to hire a nurse, which was pretty expensive. And so the nurse stayed with the kids, but the insurance wouldn't allow the nurse to take them outside. So the kids basically, for their 2-week holiday vacation, had to be inside, not the whole time.
Before video games were available.
And every day when the woman was coming, the kids would go into the cabinets in the bathroom and hide.
I remember doing that
so much. And then, I can't remember her name. Daddy would probably remember it. But after that, we would always use that as a form of punishment, that we're going to call Mrs. So-and-so.
I thought her name was like Mrs. Kraft something.
I can't remember, but she would make a list of every time they went to the bathroom, every little bit of food that they put into their mouth, every single thing they did was all documented on these like sheets of paper. It was the weirdest thing. It was weird.
What do you think about leaving your child with a babysitter?
I've always tried to do my best. I really always tried to do my best. I would normally hire like the teacher from the school, or the
you can do that?
Well, like a daycare school, like a preschool.
Oh, not like...
I really paid babysitters way more than most people did. I never used a teenage babysitter. I never used a young girl. Not that there's anything wrong with that. In retrospect, it would probably be okay, but I felt like if you're going to be with a babysitter all day on Saturday, I want them to be able to drive. I would usually give them my car to use and give them money and, you know, try to have a fun time.
How much would you pay them?
I can't remember, but pretty well. But one thing I would always say is I did have a babysitter once that was a guy, and I was desperate for a babysitter, so I put some notes up like in the post office. So this guy offered to do it, and he seemed really nice, but Lorraine was just freaking out one day, just totally freaking out, like there's absolutely no way I'm gonna go with him. And so I kept questioning her as to like what was wrong and why she wouldn't want to go, and she just said, I don't like his face. So I was so scared that he had done something to her and she wouldn't tell me, so I just stopped using him. But I would never leave my kids at daycare while they were crying. You know, I know that a lot of people just say let them cry it out or whatever, and that's what a psychologist would say, but I just always felt like I wanted my kids to be really comfortable with whoever they were with. I'm not scared or not feeling frightened or left behind or whatever. I wanted them to have fun where they were.
Okay, good enough.